Hey, honey bunnies.
Hola. Okay.
All right, so tell me how to do my job again, because what are we doing? It's been a week. It's been a week, Danny.
There's been some cocktail stuff.
There's been some things that have happened, and there has been liquors.
We've been hanging out since 5:00.
We made one
TikTok. And it is 8:21.
Officially past Danny's bedtime.
Pretty much. So
Whoopsies. Sorry, sis.
are you though, really?
I love when I get to keep you up past your bedtime. Well, especially if you don't have to do anything early. Like on a work night, I feel terrible. Right now, I don't feel very bad.
She's not
I'm
feeling
just being
bad.
transparent.
Thank you for being so honest. Love you.
I'm being very vulnerable.
Love you, sis.
Cheers, please.
Okay.
Cheers to you all at home.
So we got something exciting this week. It's exciting for me.
I think it's exciting for all of us.
We are going to do an episode that's a little out of our realm, and it's out of Idaho. It's outside of the Pacific Northwest, but we're going to be doing these occasionally. And this is welcome to our first episode of the Annex, the Lethal Library. There's some things that come up. I am a big true crime galley. I listen to.
She's that girl.
I listen to them all. And this has been one that I've heard several stories on through the years from several different podcasts, and there has been a breakthrough. Yay for DNA.
Yay, DNA.
And so I just am going to give you, this is not a deep dive. This is not our typical episode, but it's very exciting. So for me, because things get solved. So
Yes, 100%. And let me just say, to your point, Danny, we've had a lot of folks suggest to us other things that are outside of our physical area. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to touch on some of those things. We can't cover everything. And there are certain cases that we don't cover because there are so many wonderful podcasters out there that have given their input and their specific niche, like expertise on stuff. And so there are certain cases that are even from our area that we don't really comment on just because the conversation's been had and we don't have anything else unique to add because so many other people have covered it so greatly. So if you're ever wondering why we didn't do like the Daybell
Koberger.
We were both super involved in following the Daybell case, but there were so many great podcasters that covered like the religious aspect and this aspect and that, and we can chitty chat about it, but they already fucking killed it. So that's why. But I'm so excited for this because this is something that people have been asking for. And let's go to the fucking annex, bitch. Welcome to the Lethal Library, Annex Edition.
The 1991 Austin yogurt shop murderers were a quadruple homicide that took place at an I Can't Believe It's yogurt shop in Austin, Texas, on Friday, December 6th. The victims were 4 teenage girls, 13-year-old Amy Ayers, 17-year-old Eliza Thomas, 17-year-old Jennifer Harbison, and Jennifer's 15-year-old sister, Sarah. Jennifer and Eliza were employees of the shop, while Sarah and her friend Amy were there to get a ride home with Jennifer when the store closed at 11 p.m. About an hour before closing time, a man was allowed to use the public restroom in the back. He waited for a while and may have jammed a rear door open. A couple who left the shop just before 11 p.m. as Jennifer was closing reported seeing 2 men at a table acting strangely. Unlike the others, Amy's body was found in a separate part of the shop. She was not charred, but she had received second and very early third-degree burns on 25 to 30% of her body. A sock-like cloth was found around her neck. She had been shot in the same manner as the others. However, the bullet had missed her brain. Ugh. She had also had a second bullet wound that caused severe damage to her brain, exiting through her lateral cheek and jawline.
This is already, again, guys, this is something that we're getting straight to the details in this. So that's maybe why it feels that way to me. But already,
No, these were brutal murders.
the fuck?
They were brutal, brutal murders. And these girls were just
Kids.
They were just working at a job and their friends were hanging out. We've done it.
Yes.
We've done it.
All of you out there have this experience too, I'm sure. And for this, to hear this about a child is absurd.
But now, the most important part of this is going to be for me, because for me, and hopefully for you, is the investigation and how it goes forward. So yes, it is an absolute brutal crime. There's going to be a few more icky details that are going to come in. But to watch, just remember that this is yay for DNA.
Yes.
And that we get some solution to
A
this.
light at the end of the tunnel.
Because it has been, yeah. Oh.
And what I'll say is also, y'all might be very familiar with this case. There's some famous cases I am versed on, but overall, I am not the true crime connoisseur girly. I strive to be. It just, I don't know what other hours I can fit in the day. I'm very busy. Just kidding. Not really, but I'm just kind of a procrastinator. So Danny knows this case well and has known of this for years. I have never heard of it. So if it seems like I'm overreacting, it's not. It's just this is my literal first time hearing the details of this case. So,
and I think that details, some cases we've gone into details, but I think let's just get them out there, letting up how brutal it is.
yeah, we try not
And
to.
then the struggle that it's been 1991.
That's insane.
So the struggle. So, and there's going to be people that are going to be, that have confessed to this crime, convicted. So this is the part where it's not the gruesome details for me. It's a very, very sad thing. But how something could take so long to figure out.
and affect so many people.
Oh, this was
over decades. That's
absolutely,
insane.
no, this rocked Austin. It rocked it. Like, it's so sad. These girls were just being teenagers, doing what teenagers do. Go to school, go to work, hang out with your friends as much as possible. And especially when it's slow.
Have fun.
Yeah. It's slow, right? And you're like,
No, I remember those days at pizza places.
come hang out with me. It's so
Yeah.
boring.
Have my friends come by and no one's the wiser, and it feels cool, and it is cool. Like, come to my job because you get to show someone, be kind of proud of
Like,
working.
Look, I just filled these salt and peppers. Can you go put them out on the table? Let me get out of here early. No harm, no foul.
Such a fucking pure experience as a younger kid.
Investigators initially identified a significant number of potential suspects, including a 15-year-old caught a few days later in a nearby shopping mall with a weapon of the same caliber used in the killings. Although the teenage suspect initially provided promising information, after tough questioning, detectives decided he was trying to escape the gun charge, and they eliminated him and the 3 petty criminal friends he had implicated, none older than 17 at the time. Bunch of kids.
Another bunch of kids. Yeah.
Running around with a gun, not a normal.
And now they're roped into a quadruple murder. Crazy.
Several years later, a new detective on the case theorized that those 4 teens from 1991 were credible suspects.
Oh.
By then, they were in their 20s, and in a string of interrogations conducted by various detectives, confessions were obtained from some of the suspects.
As we've seen and has been demonstrated in especially with kids.
They said all four, Robert Springsteen, Michael Scott, Maurice Pierce, and Forrest Wilburn, had all participated in the murders. Because there was no record of what was said to the boys in the 1991 interrogation, it was impossible to know whether detectives had supplied information in those initial sessions.
That would make their
Information that could
credible.
later be referenced to implicate the suspect. Always record.
I hate that this is a thing. I think it's good that there's awareness about it, but there are because the base logic of it is, why would you ever say you did something that you didn't? But
There has
the
been studies.
interrogations with even people that they know are innocent sometimes are lasting like 10 hours when they've lost their spouse or something. So you're talking about a person in a traumatic event, your sister or brother, spouse, whatever, and sometimes they are interrogating these people for 10 hours.
And they're babies.
Imagine your entire workday as a baby or adult. Your entire workday is the police questioning you and starting off real easy and nice. And then it gets to a point where you're like, you're all alone. You have no access to the outside world. And yeah, you have the ability to leave. They make sure they tell you that, but you don't truly believe that you do. And so then they try to present you options like,
Well, if you
say this now, it will help you.
The first to talk is going to get the best
It
deal.
is true. If you actually have done something, the first to talk is.
And then they go in after you're like, fine, I'll say something because I don't want to get the death penalty. And then they go in and they're like, hey, your guy's squealing on you. We know what's up. So it's just
easy to say no one would ever do that. But like you said, studies have shown that people, kids and adults, do this because of the situation that they're in and the pressures. So it's just crazy to see this.
Springsteen and Scott were sent to trial entirely because of their self-incriminating statements. The prosecution described the horrific nature of the crimes against the young victims in great detail, but presented no hard evidence other than the confessions. Both men were convicted of capital murder. Springsteen was sentenced to death, and Scott, who was 15 at the time, was sentenced to life imprisonment.
Again, and now we see the consequences of that and how our judicial system, as much as it's continuously worked on to try to eliminate certain things, something can slip through the cracks and sentenced to death, whether you agree with the death penalty or not. I think that everyone can agree, whether you agree with the death penalty or not. You don't want to kill someone who's not actually guilty. And clearly, this was a possibility. Can you imagine as a kid? Oh my God.
But in 2005, Springsteen, who had been 17 at the time of the offense, had his sentence commuted to life in prison by Governor Rick Perry as a result of Roper versus Simmons. And so we see a lot of these now. Yes. We're not sentencing 17 and 15-year-olds to death. We're not doing that.
We're giving them life, which sure, it's something.
It's still brutal. I mean, and it's complicated. And I didn't deep dive, like I said, I didn't deep dive into this to see what this Roper versus Simmons was about. But we've seen this in a lot of states where they go back and retroactively change the sentence because it's not okay. The prosecution's tactic of using excerpts of each suspect's alleged confessions at the others' trials was later ruled to have violated the Confrontation Clause because the co-defendant did not testify. Both convictions were overturned on the Confrontation Clause grounds alone, and the men were freed in 2009.
Okay.
Prosecutors insisted, but 91, it's just too long. Prosecutors insisted they would retry the cases. However, forensic investigation showed that DNA found in a victim was not theirs, nor was it that of the other two suspects implicated through confessions.
And that's just wild. And I think it really highlights this time pre-DNA of how much easier it was. And it still happens even with all of these technological advances with DNA and everything. It still can happen.
But
A jury can
especially,
still, on next to no evidence, convict to a death sentence or life in prison. But one thing that I've really tuned into recently, and this is no hate to law enforcement officers and detectives and prosecutors in general, but there are many cases where it's incredibly obvious that either incompetence or laziness or just not being great at your job 10 year later uncovers when they give it to a new person is like, you interviewed the suspect the first day.
yeah.
And they find that it's them. And so there is so many unsolved cases and missing persons where it truly is just the lack of accountability, and or maybe people that aren't meant to do the job.
Look at you being so kind. I think that there's law enforcement out there that just wants it closed.
No matter the consequence.
No matter the consequences, they're like, they're going to make it fit.
I need to check that box.
They're going to make it fit. And also, I do think, with that being said, to relieve the families of some pain, that, hey, I got your guy. They're going to suffer.
The intention might be pure, but the consequence and reality of it sucks. No, I think I like that you brought that up because I didn't think of that perspective.
The prosecution consequently abandoned plans for retrial. Texas courts later decided that those released were not entitled to compensation because they had not proven they did not commit the crime.
Which, what a crock of shit.
You've wasted your whole fucking life. I mean, we all know how this starts, right? You're in your 20s, and then you go work some shit jobs, or you go to college and you get a degree that you don't need.
Yeah.
and then you figure out your calling, and then you start building, like, you figure out what you want to do.
And deprive someone of the opportunity.
Then, you meet somebody, and then you have a family, and then you go on vacations. Like,
even if you've been acquitted or they say this isn't you, you still have a reputation. You have all these news articles about you.
And you can't go back and start a life over. You can't start your life.
I can't imagine.
At 50, the way you would start your life when you're 30. I mean, even 40. You just think about all those different times in your life and think, God, if I would have started this job
10 years ago,
right,
I could be the fucking CEO.
Exactly. So, anyways.
Oh, you're totally right. And especially as a kid, can you imagine being institutionalized for something you didn't do that young?
And the heartache that their families go through. Like, and I am going to do a story on, probably be one of our short stacks or something. But
coming soon, short stacks. Put a pin in that.
I want to do, I'm going to talk about how the penal system just jacks these families out of money and makes it so difficult to talk to their families, to see their families.
It is literally a money-making endeavor.
And so
you can't fart without it costing money.
So to have these kids be convicted and spend their lives, the trauma that it doesn't just affect these kids, it affects brothers and sisters and moms and dads, and it's just
a weight that everyone carries. No, 100%.
One of the detectives involved in the interrogations, Hector Polanco, had previously been accused of coercing false confessions in a notorious case involving exonerated defendants Christopher Ochacha and Richard Danziger.
Oh, did he? Really?
Both were released after 13 years in prison. Danziger was assaulted in prison, resulting in permanent brain damage. 7 jurors from the trials later stated they would not have convicted Scott and Springsteen had this evidence been available. If they'd known that that detective had coerced false confessions out of 2 other people, I don't want to call them inmates, 2 other people, they
shouldn't have been inmates. This is a travesty. I feel like you and I are both gonna crash out a little bit over this, and I'm down for it. We've had a few cocktails.
But it's just, that's why I wanted to tell you the story, Seth, because it's relevant right now.
No, and this is the type of shit that we talk about just with each other. So it's very much like, this is our jam.
At the time of the killings, a known serial killer, Kenneth McDuff, was in the area. He had a history of multiple murders involving teenagers, but was soon ruled out. He was executed on November 17th, 1998. Austin police acknowledged more than 50 people, including McDuff, on the day of his execution, confessed to the yogurt shop murders.
What is up with that? Can I just say, inmates, stop confessing to crimes you didn't do, because what in the fucking why?
What in the fucking why?
Truly, I hate when people do that, and it's like a common thing. What is up with that? Can I literally poll inmates and be like, why are y'all doing this? Why are y'all doing this?
A 1992 confession by 2 Mexican nationals held by Mexican authorities was soon disputed and ultimately ruled false.
Why are the false confessions going international? Mr. Worldwide. What?
Exactly. In 2006, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals overturned Robert Springsteen's conviction based on an unfair trial. The U.S. Supreme Court refused to reinstate the conviction in February of 2007. On Wednesday, June 24th of 2009, Judge Mike Lynch ruled, responding to a Travis County District Attorney Rosemary Lindbergh's request that one of the trials be continued, that the defendants Springsteen and Scott be freed on bond pending their upcoming trials. This is when they were trying to reconvict them.
Sure.
Right, retrial. But at 2:50 p.m. that day, both men walked out of the Travis County jail with their attorneys. Because they wanted to go for it again. Why? This is a very hard thing for me. Like, prosecutors, take the loss. Just take the loss.
Yes.
Just cash it in, take the loss, walk out. Because you retrying these people over and over again when you can clearly look back and see that this is a coerced confession. It's not correct. The DNA isn't happening for you. Let it go. You've lost. You got to know when to fold them.
Exactly. And listen.
It looks so bad.
I can understand by human nature. I do a lot of work. If I'm talking about something to ensure that I'm correct in my job and stuff, I don't comment, or I'll get back to someone. I want to provide the correct information. So I get that of digging your heels in. And listen, I've had times where I was wrong and it fucking hurts. Especially because I take so much care to not say something wrong or give the wrong information. It fucking does hurt me when I have to say, I know that I told you that this was the XYZ right answer, but actually I didn't consider this, or I wasn't aware of this, or this just changed. And I understand the human nature to be like,
no,
to try to cover it up and try to not be transparent with someone and say, listen, and have the humility, I guess, to do that. But doing this on a fucking judicial scale where you're spending taxpayer dollars on a case that what are the odds, chat? What are the odds of this passing when all of this has come out and you're still willing to spend taxpayer
You're going to toe the line. It's just not smart.
And this is another little thin blue line type of thinking that I think we all know about. So I get it, but God damn it. when it's someone's life, you cannot fucking dig your heels in like this.
Not even a day, a week, nothing. You lose. Anyway, that'll be another story for another time.
The impact is far too great.
Later that day, Lindbergh issued a statement explaining her request for a continuance and the court's decision to release the defendants on a personal bond, with conditions requiring them to remain in Travis County, report any change of residence, have no contact with the victims' families or witnesses, refrain from carrying weapons or consuming alcohol or illegal drugs,
Or fraternizing with any other person that's been involved in any crime of any type.
report to the court routinely, and attend all their court appearances. She noted that both men had been convicted by juries in 2001 and 2002, and that their convictions were overturned on appeal, but their statements to law enforcement were found voluntary, and that new developments in DNA technology, specifically Y-star testing, which isolates male DNA as is considered the most accurate for mixtures, has been used since March 2008, and that reliable scientific evidence in this case presented one unknown male donor.
Okay, what the fuck's her name again? Lind something?
Lindbergh.
Lindbergh. Sis, all I gotta say is, fuck you.
So do you want to know what Y-star DNA is?
I do.
They are, fun fact, are specific short sequences of DNA on the Y chromosome that repeat in a pattern. These repeats are called short tandem repeats, or STRs.
Obviously.
And the number of repeats at each STR marker is unique to an individual's Y chromosome signature. By comparing these STR values between individuals, you can trace paternal lineages, identify common ancestors, and determine the ancestry of male line individuals.
So all that to say,
They got you good. It's an yay DNA. It's an advancement in DNA where they can they can find you through ancestral DNA. Is basically what it is. My understanding.
but it sounds like that isn't the standard now. Am I?
No, they're using that way more now. Although the defense asserted that testing revealed more than one unknown male, evidence presented at a June 18th hearing contradicted that claim. Lindbergh concluded she could not in good conscience take the case to trial before the identity of the unknown male was determined, even though she remained confident that both Springsteen and Scott were responsible. Yeah.
Confident?
She pledged that her office and the Austin Police Department would continue investigating until all responsible parties were brought to justice. And on October 28th, 2009, all charges against Scott and Springsteen were dismissed. You liking that DNA, sis?
And in '09, that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
That's saying a lot. Drink break. Cheers,
Okay.
homies.
On December 23rd, 2010, Austin police officer Frank Wilson and his rookie partner, Bradley Smith, conducted a traffic stop in the northern part of the city on a vehicle driven by Maurice Pierce. Remember, he was one of the original four kids. After a brief foot pursuit, Pierce struggled with Wilson, removed a knife from his belt, and stabbed the officer in the neck. Wilson, who survived, drew his gun and shot and killed Pierce. You know, I'm just...
Another fucking tragedy based on all the... And I'm not excusing. I'm not.
No.
But
when you start off being treated as you're
institutionalized.
a bad person. No, this is one of the original four, like way back, that was associated with these other kids, but he was still associated as a bad kid. And it's very difficult to overcome that between...
Especially when it hasn't been solved.
Right.
Because that's always going to be a question mark.
So that was
To have that put on you as a kid and try to
live a
grow
normal
up.
life and just... you're probably going to get tangled up. Like, oh, your buddies.
And you don't trust law enforcement.
No. Period. End of story.
And I can already give 17 different reasons why someone, a rational person, wouldn't, just from this episode.
Thank you. On December 8th, 2021, the House Judiciary Committee passed legislation from Representative Michael McCall giving families of cold case victims the opportunity to petition the federal government to re-examine cases older than 3 years. And on February 5th, 2022, it was announced that advanced DNA technology was bringing investigators closer than ever to solving the Austin murders.
And I like this because we've heard from Datelines and other stories how someone will want to reopen a cold case.
Like now,
and there's options available, like that one DNA test that can tell you what the person looked like.
Yeah.
Like their hair, eyes, bone structure, maybe.
and they're even willing to pay for it themselves.
Yes.
And they won't release the evidence for it to be done.
Yes.
Radek.
Radeka.
Sorry, I said that. I'm passionate about it. Like,
No, I love it.
no, if I have a family member that has been murdered and I am willing to give a state entity or a federal entity money to do their fucking job,
The test that will work and
then you
help?
tell me no.
I'm sorry. I'm slapping a bitch. I'm going to jail over it.
On August, this is for the law. On August 3rd, 2022, President Joe Biden signed into law the Homicide Victims Families Rights Act of 2021, motivated in part by the 1991 yogurt shop murders.
Shit.
The law is intended to ensure that federal law enforcement reviews cold case files and applies the latest technologies and investigative standards, and it allows federal agencies to receive the request for cold case reviews.
I like that because the federal government does have so many more different ways to investigate.
That's why they call in the FBI.
We need the big dogs in here sometime. They have so many more resources. And listen, enforcement has gone a long way state to state as far as having an actual thing to share information. Huge. When it would take months or never even get passed along. So yes, there is that. But if you get a federal entity involved, there's just so many more resources, and this is the shit we pay for, folks. Who doesn't want to know who murdered their sister, brother? Justice is important, and let's fucking go, FBI.
On September 26, 2025, it was formally announced that Robert Eugene Brashers, a serial killer identified through investigative genetic genealogy by C.C. Moore in 2018, had been linked to the yogurt shop murderers by DNA. Brashers committed suicide in a standoff with police in 1999. A partial Y-star DNA profile developed from a vaginal swab from one of the victims did not match any of the previous suspects. However, Brasher's Y-DNA star profile provided enough of a partial match to pursue the lead. Testing of a bullet casing found in a drain at the crime scene was consistent with the patterns produced by the gun Brashers used to commit suicide in 1999.
All I can say is if my jaw could physically hit the floor like a cartoon, it's there. 99, he committed suicide.
And they still had that bullet casing.
And it went on for 26 more years.
But they didn't have the DNA technology.
I know.
Or maybe
I
they
know.
didn't want to find it.
No,
But he was already a serial killer, and I'm going to tell you all about him. Coming up next. So I'm going to tell you about this motherfucker. Are you ready? He's a bad dude.
sounds like it.
Robert Eugene Brashers was an American serial killer, mass murderer, and a rapist who committed at least 7 murders between 1990 and 1998 in Missouri, South Carolina, and Texas. He died by suicide in 1999 to avoid arrest on an unrelated crime.
So in 8 years, 7 verifiable murders. 1 a year?
Yeah. Well,
That he was caught for. Because who knows?
I think they're including the 4
The girls?
the
Yeah.
4 girls. But during his lifetime, Brashers was not identified as a suspect in any of his murders and remained in relative obscurity until decades after he died.
What a treat for him.
In the fall of 1985, Brashers was arrested in Port St. Lucie for assaulting a 24-year-old woman, Michelle Wilkerson. On November 22nd, he met Wilkerson in Fort Pierce and convinced her to go with him to a bar. After spending the evening there, he took her to a dark alley near a citrus grove where, after the two had drunk 6 Budweisers, he attempted to make sexual advances. When Wilkerson refused and tried to leave his vehicle, a fight ensued, and Brasher shot her twice in the neck and head. Despite the severity of her injuries, she remained conscious, got out of the car, and hid in a culvert under the road. Having lost track of her, Brashers went to the beach and threw his gun into the sea. He then tried to leave, but his truck became stuck in the sand, forcing him to walk the street
Dipshit.
to look for help.
You see it all like on the beaches that you can go to in Oregon and Washington where they're like, don't drive here. And then there's always that inevitable motherfucker.
D-bag that drives there.
Yeah, and everyone just points and laughs. Absolute fucking dipshit.
Meanwhile, Wilkerson reached a nearby apartment building, received medical attention, and before being taken to a Lawnwood hospital, gave police a detailed description of her assailant and his car. A few minutes later, officers apprehended Brashers while he was wandering the beach and charged him with attempted first-degree murder, aggravated battery, and a use of a firearm during the commission of a crime.
Thank you.
He was convicted the following year and sentenced to 12 years imprisonment. Under more lenient laws in place, we all know how this works. He was released for good conduct on May 4th, 1989.
This happened so often. I want...
Four fucking years. For 4 years, he spent in jail for sexually assaulting a woman and shooting her in the neck and head and leaving her
someone in the head.
and leaving her for dead. 4 years. What were happening in the 80s?
Well, and this type of shit still happens now with like stalking type of laws where people can literally fuck with you. Not just stalking, but they can interfere with your life. And they're like, but have you had any personal harm? Have they inflicted any physical?
I'm mentally fucked.
Like, no, they haven't actually sliced me with a knife, but they're following me. And literally they were in my house 6 times, hiding in my closet when I got home. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of bad, but that only carries like, it's a misdemeanor. People can, when you say that, it's like people are allowed to fucking do this. So you can just go hide in someone's closet and terrorize them for years. And there's not laws for it. And
4 years.
I'm spiraling. And that's not
4 years for shooting a woman in the neck and the head.
Imagine being shot in the neck and head and someone gets to spend 4 years in prison. How that is, and it's just because you didn't die.
Right.
That's bullshit.
I do not.
It's by luck she didn't die.
We have discussed the second-degree murder bullshit.
It
and
can get
attempted
very
murder.
fucking stupid.
Well, after his release, Brashers moved among South Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia, often changing his residences. And on February 18th, 1992, he was arrested in Cobb County, Georgia for grand theft auto, unlawful possession of a weapon, because you're a convicted felon, and theft. A search of his vehicle and apartment turned up a radio scanner, a police jacket, lock-picking tools, and a fake Tennessee's driver's license.
So he's only gotten better at his craft
Yep.
of being an
You
absolute
get caught, you get
menace.
better. Fearing another long sentence, he struck a plea deal. He pled guilty to the most serious charge and had the others dropped. He received an additional 5-year sentence, served it in full, and was released in February 1997. I don't know.
5 years later.
Yeah, I don't know how he didn't get a parole violation and have to serve more. Anyway, like I said, not deep dive, not my style, right? You know, I like to deep dive, but not on this one. But it's a question, like, why didn't you get a parole violation and have to, how I understand your parole violation, you could have to end up serving your full amount of time.
And this is just an assumption, but it's an assumption based on hearing different things, is a lot of parole programs or probation programs, things slip through the cracks where shit,
Especially in the
if you
80s and
don't have
90s.
someone that is actively engaged in their job,
Well, and he's moving around too.
like someone we know. Not a serial killer, but
Just looks like one.
just looks like one. Check out the TikTok. But no, it's things slip through the cracks, and there are so many missed opportunities where it's like, God damn, if he would have just been busted, or she, on this thing, this next murder wouldn't have happened, and it's a fucking shame.
During the following 2 years, he moved between Tennessee, Arkansas, and Missouri. On April 12th, 1998, he was arrested while attempting to break into the home of an unmarried woman in Arkansas. He had previously been employed by her. He had cut the wires to her home
Oh my
and was
fucking
armed
God.
at the time of his arrest. Police also seized a video camera and locksmithing tools.
Again, almost as if there's a pattern, and I'm so sorry. I do believe in rehabilitation, but there's so many of these like
It's not
pervert style crimes, like peeping toms and people that break into people's houses to get their panties or want to record videos of women or just cannot. Hot take. I'm open to criticism on this. I don't know if that is rehabilitatable. If you're already in, it
He's
feels
walking
like,
around with a rape kit,
yeah.
basically. Like,
If you had to kill someone in self-defense and you went to jail, I could consider it. If you there's certain circumstances, but these types of crimes, especially when you can prove that it's a habitual thing that they have done relentlessly.
you ready to get more mad?
No, Danny, I'm not, but here we go.
He was taken into custody but later released after someone posted his bail.
Of course he was.
So, forward in January 13th, 1999, police discovered a stolen vehicle in the parking lot of a Super 8 hotel in Kennett, Missouri. Classy.
I love a Super 8.
Motel staff confirmed that Brashers and his family had arrived in the vehicle days earlier. Officers forced entry into his room and found him hiding under a bed with a loaded gun. When they had attempted to arrest him, he resisted and opened fire, forcing the officers to retreat and call for backup. Within minutes, the motel was surrounded by police. Brashers took his wife, daughter, and 2 stepdaughters hostage. After 4 hours of negotiations, he released the hostages and shot himself in the head. He served.
The fuck? So this is the suicide that you, the death by suicide.
He survived 6 days, but died from complications on January 19th. Brasher's name remained obscure until 2018 when genealogist C.C. Moore of Parabon Nanolabs identified him through investigative genetic genealogy as a suspect in 3 murders and several rapes dating to 1990.
He was really prolific.
I really love that they were like, let me just see if this guy, like,
Right.
there.
Can you imagine the dopamine hit of seeing those hit?
Like, fuck, I got him. And just solving it. Fucking way to go, Cece.
And just knowing the difference it's going to make, because DNA is just such an incredible advancement of, it's not perfect. There are certain things where your DNA could be on whatever, blah, blah, blah. Not talking about that. But all of these unsolved cases and the way that you can use, like, oh, this is a third cousin to someone that's used, Ancestry DNA or whatever the fuck these things are. Or doing the pathology more where it's like, well, this is what that type of person would look like based on their DNA. There's so many cool fucking shit.
Yay, DNA.
Yay, DNA. Love that. Oh, God.
So he was just a suspect, right? To all of these things.
Yes.
Prosecutors in Missouri then sought to exhume his remains for additional testing. On September 27th, 2018, his casket was exhumed in Arkansas and DNA was extracted from his bones. Testing revealed a perfect genetic match to the murder of 28-year-old Jenny Zitricki, I hope I said that right, who was bludgeoned, raped, and strangled with pantyhose in South Carolina on April 5th, 1990. Investigators determined that after killing her in her bedroom, the perpetrator dragged her body into the bathtub and submerged it, and then wrote, "Don't fuck with my family" on the bathroom mirror. A DNA sample from the perpetrator had been isolated in 1995 and uploaded to CODIS. I don't get to say that, I don't think, yet.
CODIS.
Investigators later established that Brashers was living in Greenville at the time, not far from Zitricki's home. He's a bad fucking dude. DNA
literally terrible, bottom of the barrel scum, piece
and
of
as
shit.
his last act, he held his
should
family hostage.
What
Loser.
Truly.
Bring
Why
out
couldn't you have just offed yourself sooner in the privacy of your own company?
Thank you.
Like, let's have some dignity, you absolute fuck.
DNA also linked Brashers to the double murder. Oh my God. You're going to be so mad about this one. DNA also linked Brashers to the double murder of 38-year-old Sherry Shearer and her 12-year-old daughter, Megan, who were found shot to death in their Missouri home on March 28th, 1998. Wait, when did he? Oh my God, that's like within a week of him shooting him. Oh, no, wait. When did he shoot himself? January 13th, 1999.
Not that long, less than a year.
Less than a year.
He was still out. And understandably, if you haven't been caught for all these things, you think that you're fucking smarter. You think you're fucking a genius. I can see how someone's evil fucking brain could work this way and be like, I'm an invincible bitch.
You delusional fuck.
Oh, I'm so mad that he killed himself because I want him to answer for this shit.
It looks in prison justice right about now.
Yeah.
Both victims had been tied up, and Megan was raped before she was shot with a .22 caliber gun.
So again, an absolute fucking cunt of a person. And I mean that in the most derogatory way. Because listen, cunt can be like...
It's a bad word. We appreciate
it's a bad word, but it also does have a slight cunt type of... So it can be a compliment. It's not complimentary.
No.
I mean it in the severest form of the word, and if I could say it in a way that was more offensive, I would.
Approximately 2 hours later, he broke into a home in Tennessee and attempted to assault a 25-year-old woman.
Like a fucking crackhead. Like a crackhead
I'm
for
sure there was
fucking
drugs.
hurting people.
Sure, drugs.
Drugs.
She fought back and he fled. Although no useful biological evidence was left, forensic ballistics proved that the same gun was used in this attack and in the Shearer murders. Brasher's was also linked to a March 11th, 1997 rape of a 14-year-old girl, Jesus Christ, in Tennessee. In that case, the victim and 4 others were inside a home, and Brasher's knocked on the door and forced his way in armed with a revolver and tied up the occupants after entering. Oh my God, just
Literally an absolute
piece of shit.
terror.
I will say that this was interesting to me because of always the case stuff, right? Like I'm very into the judicial side of how we end up where we end up, and to have those poor kids in prison all those years by a false confession. And I love DNA for, even if you get, this is the thing too, even if they can't convict you later on and you've been released because they don't have enough and whatever the laws, you're still living with that over your fucking head your whole life. Like, oh, you're a murderer.
And as a child, that's fucked.
So these poor men, I mean, not to mention all the poor victims, Jesus,
How the ripple effects of this man on the false convictions, on the other victims, all their families being shot in the head, like the negative impact that this fucking person has left on the world. Fuck you, bitch, and rot.
he's in hell, I promise.
Thank you.
Thank you. So what'd you think of our first annex, Steph?
Loved it because just so you guys know, Danny and I can fucking chat each other's ears off on the regular. So this felt a lot. Not that I don't love our other episodes because I learned so much and that's totally a focus of mine. But this just felt like a lot of you guys have made comments and stuff. And it's like, if you guys were sitting in the garage with us, this is the type of fucking, not quite as structured, but this is how we fucking chat. So
let me tell you about this one.
we are interested in your feedback, though. We're trying new things based on your feedback. We've had a lot of people ask for cases outside of our area. This is a way we thought we could do it where it's not so intensive on the research part, but we can still talk about the details of fully formed cases. So we're interested in your feedback. How do you guys like it? We want to hear from you. Comment to us, email us for lethallibrary@gmail.com. What do you think? We have other plans as well based on your feedback. So more to come soon. Danny, what do you think about the episode?
I love resolution. That's weird.
No, truly.
And so when I saw this come up in the news, I knew of the case. And I had listened to podcasts about it. And so, yeah, all those details, but to have them stick.
Yeah.
So I was excited to go back. I'm like, let me just do a quick overview. And I know quick, it's not a 15-minute quick because it was so much, but it's just an overview. And my deep dives, I'd have been going off in everybody else's business way deep. Overview, because it was finally solved. And those poor victims finally have somebody to be held accountable, even though he's fucking dead, rot in hell.
But now you know.
Now you know for sure there is scientific evidence.
Not looking over your shoulder.
Yay, science. And also makes me very happy when we have people that have been wrongly convicted. Really, even if they're not in jail, you know that it's still hanging over their head. Now we have they're exonerated, truly, because of science.
Science, bitch. Quote Breaking Bad. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. We're going to
have another cocktail. Thank you guys.
I might be sleeping at Danny's tonight.
Word of mouth. Please tell other people who enjoy podcasts, share our stuff. Also, check out our social media, especially our TikToks. We're doing ridiculous things, but we're having a good time doing it. So,
yeah, 100%. See you on the next one.
bye.
Bye.